OK, good morning, bon matin tout le monde, à tous les députés et sénateurs conservateurs et conservatrices qui sont ici, and also, of course, to our friends in the media. Our first order of business this morning, in just a moment, will be to welcome our newest colleague and caucus member, Mr. Jamil Jivani, MP for the riding of Durham. Calm down, guys. Calm down. He's not coming yet. He's not coming yet. It's a good start, but calm down. Mais d'abord, quelques mots à propos de notre collègue, Jamil Jivani. A un CV très impressionnant pour un homme de seulement 36 ans. Il est avocat, auteur et communicateur. Il a été élu député plus tôt ce mois avec plus de 57% des voix dans la circonscription de Durham et quelques faits à propos aux élections partielles dans cette circonscription. Comme j'ai indiqué, il a remporté l'élection partielle de Durham avec 57% des voix. Il s'agit de la plus grande part de voix que le Parti conservateur moderne ait jamais obtenue à Durham. C'est également la plus grande part de voix qu'un parti politique, et n'importe quel parti, ait obtenu dans la circonscription de Durham depuis plus qu'un siècle. Et, par contre, le candidat libéral à l'élection partielle a obtenu seulement 22% des voix, c'est-à-dire la plus faible partie des voix jamais obtenue par les libéraux à Durham depuis 2011. Alors, s'il vous plaît, joignez-vous à moi pour souhaiter la bienvenue à notre nouveau collègue, le député de la circonscription de Durham, M. Jamil Jivani.
Thank you. Thank you. Bonjour tout le monde. Thank you, Scott. Thank you to each of you for the very warm welcome. I am very proud to be the Common Sense Member of Parliament for Durham. And I'm very happy to be a member of our Common Sense team as we work very hard for the people of Canada to axe the tax, build the homes, fix the budget, and stop the crime. Please join me in welcoming our Common Sense Conservative leader and the next Prime Minister of Canada, Pierre Poilievre.
Merci beaucoup, Jamil. Merci beaucoup, Jamil. Merci, Jamil. Merci beaucoup, Jamil. Et merci beaucoup, tout le monde. Merci d'être là. Merci et félicitations pour notre nouveau collègue de gros bon sens, Jamil Jivani. Sa victoire écrasante. Sa victoire de 58%, soi-disant une augmentation de 12%, le meilleur résultat pour n'importe quel parti dans ce comté depuis plus de 2 décennies. C'est une grande victoire pour lui, pour le Parti conservateur et pour tous les Canadiens qui veulent le gros bon sens. C'est ça. Les gens de Durham ont voté pour couper taxes et impôts, bâtir des logements, réparer le budget et stopper les crimes. J'ai eu l'honneur de faire la porte-à-porte avec notre ami Jamil et de rencontrer des gens dans son comté. Et j'ai vu beaucoup d'espoir pour l'avenir, en même temps que désespoir pour le présent. Parce qu'après 8 ans de Justin Trudeau, tout coûte plus cher pour les Canadiens, y compris dans son comté. Le coût de logement a doublé. La criminalité est présente partout dans nos rues. Je me souviens du camionneur retraité à qui j'ai parlé, qui, la journée même, avait appris qu'il allait perdre sa maison parce qu'il ne pouvait plus payer ses factures. Il avait besoin de demander à sa fille de vivre dans son sous-sol. Il ne savait pas comment il allait payer ses factures, même à ça, parce que le coût de nourriture avait tellement augmenté. Il a 76 ans. Qu'est-ce qu'il peut faire? Est-ce qu'il va aller encore conduire un camion à 76 ans? C'est le type d'horreur que vivent les Canadiens. Ce n'est pas juste des plaintes qu'on entend, comme normal en politique. C'est les gens dont les vies sont tout à fait bouleversées. Des jeunes femmes qui ne savent pas comment elles auront des enfants parce qu'elles ne peuvent pas acheter une maison et elles vivent dans des petits appartements de 400 pieds carrés. C'est des mères monoparentales qui font le calcul de comment pouvoir nourrir leurs enfants parce qu'après 8 ans des taxes et déficits inflationnistes de Trudeau avec l'appui du Bloc, le coût de nourriture a augmenté plus rapidement que dans 40 ans précédents. On voit que maintenant, l'augmentation de 43 % dans la demande pour les banques alimentaires après 8 ans de Justin Trudeau. 1 sur 10 Torontois font maintenant recours, à une banque alimentaire. 1 sur 10 Torontois. C'est incroyable. Une augmentation de 600 % de demande pour les banques alimentaires à l'Université Western en Ontario. On voit une augmentation aussi grande que même des membres des forces armées doivent aller aux banques alimentaires. À Gagetown, là où j'étais, dans la région de Nouveau-Brunswick, il y a 50 familles qui doivent aller aux banques alimentaires. À Montréal, la banque alimentaire avait besoin d'appeler les policiers parce qu'il y a eu tellement de chaos au moment que la nourriture était épuisée et les gens étaient toujours affamés. On n'a jamais vu ces scènes ici au Canada. Et maintenant, il y a un groupe Facebook de 8000 personnes qui partagent des suggestions de comment manger d'une poubelle parce qu'il n'y a pas de nourriture abordable à l'épicerie et il n'y a plus de nourriture aux banques alimentaires. La criminalité est en hausse. On a perdu 40 000 personnes à cause des drogues, en même temps que Justin Trudeau et le Bloc libèrent les pires criminels et permettent l'entrée des drogues dans nos frontières. Et leur solution, c'est de bannir des armes de chasse des gens dans les régions. Ça, c'est le bilan de Justin Trudeau. Et maintenant, pour les gens dans les régions, Justin Trudeau et Stephen Guilbeault veulent bannir des jobs dans le forestier. Ils ont annoncé un décret pour fermer les industries forestières et pour tuer des milliers d'emplois à travers le Québec et partout au Canada. Des gens qui produisent le bois dont on a besoin pour bâtir des logements. Ça n'a pas de bon sens, mes chers amis. C'est quoi la solution du Bloc et de Justin Trudeau maintenant à tout cet enfer? Une hausse de taxes. Une grande hausse de taxes sur l'essence qui va coûter... Il y a 2 taxes carbone, en fait. La première taxe carbone qui s'applique indirectement au Québec parce que les produits que les Québécois achètent ailleurs au Canada vont être plus chers. Et la deuxième taxe carbone qui s'applique directement au Québec, 17 sous le litre ou 20 sous si on ajoute le taxe de vente sur le taxe de l'essence. Une taxe qui va rendre la vie plus chère pour les Québécois pour les Acadiens, pour les Franco-Ontariens, pour tous les Canadiens qui vont payer plus cher. On voit maintenant, il n'y a pas de bon sens dans ce gouvernement. Et on voit aussi que le Bloc a appuyé toutes ces politiques économiques de Justin Trudeau. Les hausses de taxes, les hausses de déficit, l'impression d'argent qui a gonflé l'inflation et les taux d'intérêt. La bonne nouvelle, c'est que la vie n'était pas comme ça avant Justin Trudeau et ça ne va pas être comme ça après Justin Trudeau. Nous, les conservateurs, nous disons non aux hausses, à la hausse de taxes, non à la hausse d'impôts, non à la hausse d'inflation, non à la hausse de dettes. Et c'est pour ça que nous disons aujourd'hui que si Justin Trudeau va de l'avant avec sa prochaine hausse d'impôts, nous allons proposer une motion de non-confiance à la Chambre des communes pour défaire son gouvernement. Monsieur Trudeau, si vous augmentez encore les taxes et les impôts, nous allons vous défaire avec une motion non-confiance. Il va y avoir une élection sur les taxes et les impôts, dans laquelle le choix sera très clair. Ou bien une coalition coûteuse de Justin Trudeau et le Bloc qui taxe votre nourriture, qui punit votre travail, qui enlève votre argent et qui double le coût de logement. Ou bien un gouvernement conservateur de gros bon sens qui va couper taxes et impôts, bâtir des logements, repérer le budget et stopper les crimes. Nous, les conservateurs, avons un plan de gros bon sens. On va éliminer les taxes et déficits inflationnistes pour rendre les prix plus abordables. On va geler les dépenses et couper le gaspillage que Justin Trudeau a fait avec Arrive Scam et d'autres dépenses que le Bloc a appuyées. On va éliminer ce gaspillage pour pouvoir équilibrer le budget et réduire le coût de la vie et les taux d'intérêt. On va bâtir des maisons et des appartements en enlevant la bureaucratie pour permettre nos bâtisseurs et nos industries de bâtir des logements que les gens peuvent supporter. On va couper les impôts aussi pour que le travail redevienne payant. Parlant du travail, nous allons mettre en place un sceau bleu pour que les Canadiens qui ont été formés ailleurs peuvent devenir des infirmières et des médecins pour mettre fin à la crise dans notre système de santé. Nous allons stopper les crimes en mettant les vrais criminels en prison, en renforçant nos frontières et pas en bannissant les armes de chasse. Ça n'a pas de bon sens. Donc, encore, le Bloc aura la chance de dire s'ils sont avec les Québécois ou ils sont avec Justin Trudeau. Nous sommes avec les gens du Canada, à partout le Canada, les gens de gros bon sens qui veulent travailler, qui veulent bâtir leur famille, qui veulent vivre en sécurité. C'est ça le gros bon sens et c'est ce que nous allons faire. Merci beaucoup. Thank you very much, Jamil, and congratulations on that spectacular 58% victory, which shows that common-sense Canadians in Durham want to axe the tax, build the homes, fix the budget, and stop the crime. I know this because I went door knocking with Jamil, and he wouldn't stop. Even when the lights went out, it was very dark outside. He kept pounding on doors, pounding on doors. They said, Jamil, it's 9:45. You've got to stop knocking on doors. He said, just one more. Lights were out on this house. He bangs the door. The lights go on. Babies start screaming. Lady opens the door, and she says, you're in big trouble, sir. I've got triplets that you just woke up, and my husband is a world champion weightlifter. You wait right here. He just wants to come and have a word with you. And Jamil said, that won't be necessary. Just tell him that the local Liberal candidate dropped by to say hello. There was a lot of hope among those people in Durham for Jamil, for the future. but a lot of fear and concern about the present. A lot of people feel like even though we were on their doorstep, that they were a long way from home. They say they don't recognize the country after 8 years of Justin Trudeau, with his inflationary debt and taxes driving up the cost of everything, with their local food banks overflowing, the cost of housing having doubled. I knocked on the door of one 76-year-old retired trucker, and he, despite being a big, burly, bearded, strong man, was literally in tears. He had just learned that he was losing his home. He had to call his daughter to ask if he could live in her basement. And even with that change, he wasn't sure how he was going to pay for groceries. So what's he supposed to do? He's 76 years old. He cannot drive a truck. His old back won't take it anymore. What's more, it is fundamentally unjust that a man that drove a truck for half a century, bringing the essentials to our kitchen tables, cannot put food on his kitchen table. But that is the tragic reality after 8 years of Justin Trudeau and the NDP. Printing $600 billion of cash caused a massive inflationary crisis that continues to this day. A crisis that has driven food prices up faster than at any time in 40 years, that has sent 2 million people every month to a food bank, including 50 at the Gagetown base. 50 members of our armed forces can't feed themselves. 1 in 10 Torontonians are now going to a food bank. Unimaginable numbers. Last week, Montreal police had to be called in because people were literally fighting over the scraps of food that were left at one of their food banks. There's been a 600% increase in demand for the University of Western Ontario's food centre. This at a time when scurvy is making a comeback because our people cannot afford to feed themselves, with Justin Trudeau and the NDP taxing the farmers who produce the food and the truckers who ship the food, and therefore all who buy the food. And then there's housing. After 8 years of Trudeau, housing costs have doubled. The rent has doubled. Mortgage payments and down payments needed to buy the average home have all doubled. This after he put in place an $89 billion program he said would make housing more affordable. He didn't build homes. He built more bureaucracy. Last year, we built fewer homes in Canada than we did in 1972, even though our population has almost doubled in that same time period. And this is not a global phenomenon. He cannot blame the rest of the world for this housing hell. This is a homegrown problem. We know that by looking at the facts. Housing costs have grown 40% faster than incomes under Trudeau. That is the second biggest gap of the almost 40 OECD nations. Vancouver is now the third most overpriced housing market in the world, worse than Singapore, a country that is an island with 2,000 times more people per square kilometre than Canada, more expensive than New York City, London, England, and countless other major centres with more people, less land, and more money. After 8 years of Justin Trudeau, people are spilling over into tent cities. Halifax now has 30 homeless encampments. Halifax, quaint, beautiful, historical Halifax, with homeless people all over the streets. This is a hell we could not have imagined 8 years ago. In fact, of all the warnings we made about Justin Trudeau, that the media decried as partisanship, we never even came close to claiming he would do the things that he has now in reality done. We were far, far too generous towards him in our interpretation of what would happen to this country under 8 years of his socialist NDP policies. And then there's economic growth. We have had the worst economic growth per person in the G7, the worst. In fact, our GDP per person, our income per person in Canada, is lower than it was 5 years ago. That has not happened since the Great Depression, to put it into context. And then crime and chaos, drugs and disorder have been unleashed on our streets, with a 100% increase in gang-related homicides, a 100% increase in gun crimes after he targeted the hunting rifles of Grandpa Joe and the sport shooting property of law-abiding sport shooters. He has actually doubled the number of gun crimes. Carjackings up 100%. There's a car stolen every 40 minutes in Toronto. In Toronto alone. Cars that are then shipped off to the federally run port, where they're seamlessly put on ships and sent off to the Middle East, to Europe, and Africa so that terrorists and organized criminals can profit from it. He makes these problems worse by wasting our money. $21 billion spent on consultants. That works out to $1,400 for every single family in Canada, all with the support of the NDP, taking money from working-class waitresses and unionized tradesmen to pay $2,000 or $3,000 a day consultants, taking from the have-nots to give to the have-yachts, and all with the support of the NDP along the way. And what is their solution now? In the midst of all this, have they finally admitted the damage they've done? Have they stopped? Are they trying to stop and extinguish the fire they started? No. They're pouring more fuel on the inflationary flames with a April Fool's Day carbon tax of 23%. A 23% increase on your gas, your heat, and your groceries. Because if you tax the farmer who makes the food, the trucker who ships the food, you tax all who buy the food. And now we know that it was all a lie when Trudeau said you get back more in rebates. We have the numbers from the parliamentary budget officers who says, and I quote, this is $2,943 for the $2,943 for the average Alberta family. That's $900 more than they get back in rebates. Saskatchewan families, on average, $2,618. That's $525 more than they get back in rebates. $1,750 for Manitoba, $502 more than they get back in rebates. $1,674 for Ontario, that's $627 more than they get back. Nova Scotia, $1,500 more in carbon tax, $1,500 in carbon tax, $500 more than they get back. $1,600 for Prince Edward Island, $500 more than they get back. $1,874 in Newfoundland and Labrador, $377 more than they get back. I go into this painful, excruciating detail to debunk the dangerous disinformation mouthed by the Prime Minister and repeated by the media. It is dangerous. You say you think I'm exaggerating by dangerous? You know what's dangerous? Malnutrition is dangerous. And when we have a government and state-controlled media who are telling people they're getting more than they're paying when exactly the opposite is true, that means people in food banks. That means hungry stomachs in our schools. That means people suffering that shouldn't be. And we need to call out and tell the truth. But we're not going to put up with it anymore. We as common sense conservatives are saying no to Trudeau's 23% April Fool's Day increase. We are saying spike the hike until we common sense conservatives can axe the tax. The good news is... The good news is Canadians are good and decent people. They do not have to live like this. They should not have to give up on the things that we all used to take for granted, like affordable food and homes, all for the ego and incompetence of one man. Life was not like this before Justin Trudeau. It will not be like this after he is gone. We're going to replace the hurt he has caused with the hope that Canadians need. So now, today I am announcing that I'm giving Trudeau one last chance to spike his hike. One last chance and only one more day. Today I'm announcing that if Trudeau does not declare today an end to his forthcoming tax increases on food, gas, and heat, that we will introduce a motion of non-confidence in the Prime Minister. It will read that the House declare non-confidence in the Prime Minister
and his costly government for increasing the carbon tax by 23% on April 1st as part of his plan to quadruple the tax while Canadians cannot afford to eat, heat, and house themselves, and call for the House to be dissolved so Canadians can vote in a carbon tax election. Carbon tax election. And in that carbon tax election, there will be a very simple choice. On the one hand, you will have the carbon tax coalition of the NDP and Justin Trudeau, who take your money, punish your work, tax your food, double your housing costs, and unleash crime and chaos in your community, or common sense conservatives who will axe the tax, build the homes, fix the budget, and stop the crime. We have a common sense plan that will bring home lower prices by axing the carbon tax and by capping spending and cutting waste to bring down the deficit, inflation, and interest rates. We will eliminate the waste in government, like the $60 million ArriveCan app, like the $1 billion Green Fund that only funds liberal insiders, like the $21 billion, or $1,400 per family, Trudeau is spending on consultants, outside consultants, high-priced consultants that cost you more. We will eliminate this waste, and we will bring home fiscal sanity to fix the budget. We will also build the homes. After 8 years of Trudeau, housing costs have doubled because we have the fewest homes per capita in the G7. Common sense conservatives will require cities permit 15% more home building as a condition of getting federal funds. Those that beat the target will get a bonus. Those that miss the target will pay a fine. That will mean that municipal bureaucracies get paid like realtors and builders. They get paid for the number of homes they build and sell. We want municipalities to get paid for the number of homes they permit. We're going to sell off 6,000 buildings and thousands of acres of federal land to build, build, build. We'll take the carbon tax off, which will reduce the cost of materials and transportation of those materials to build those homes. We will stop the crime. We will bring jail and not bail for repeat violent offenders. We will bring treatment and not more legalized and subsidized hard drugs to bring our loved ones home drug-free. We will secure the border and lock up gun criminals and smugglers instead of targeting licensed, law-abiding, trained and tested sport shooters and hunters. We will do all of this to bring home and to bring hope to the Canadian people who suffered so badly over the last 8 years, who remember the country that they loved and the country in which they still believe. A country where hard work will once again pay off, where a trucker who delivers us the goods for 50 years will be able to live a good and dignified retirement. A country where young couples will be able to plan a new home in which they can have beautiful babies and raise a wonderful future for themselves and their families, a future where our kids can walk safely on the streets, where families do not need to peer out their window to see if their car has been stolen, or worse yet, leave their keys at the front door so that the thieves can simply take them as they please. A country that is proud of itself, proud of its history, proud of its heritage, and optimistic about its future. A country where the state is servant and not master, with small government and big citizens. A country that puts the common people first. The common sense of the common people united for our common home. Your home, my home, our home. Let's bring it home. Thank you. Thank you very much. Spike the height.